This section covers chapters 7 through 9 of Suzanne Collins' The Hunger Games. Students will be responsible for identifying the main events of the selection, discussing the themes developed in the selection, and defining key terms from the selection. Students should be on the lookout for the main events of these chapters, be able to describe the significance of the cornucopia, and discuss the themes developed in this selection. It is the first day of training at the beginning of Chapter 7. For 3 days, the 24 tributes will all practice together. Then, on the final afternoon, they will perform in private in front of the game makers, the officials who run the games. Katniss and Peeta choose to train together, not concerned with hiding secret skills that they may not want the other to know about. Peeta already knows that Katniss is an excellent hunter, and Katniss is surprised that Peeta thinks of her sometimes. Haymitch wants to know what their strengths are. Katniss's is obviously with a bow. Peeta is clearly strong and a good wrestler. Peeta feels like he has no chance and reveals that Katniss has no idea of the effect she can have on others, saying that his own mother praised Katniss over him, calling her a survivor. Katniss says she couldn't have survived without Peeta, and says that his secret strength is the kindness that he shows to other people. Haymitch tells them not to reveal their strengths until the private session with the game makers, and to be sure that they're always seen together and pretend to be friends. At training, Katniss watches the other tributes. She realizes almost all of them are bigger than her, and even though many are underfed, there are some from the wealthier districts who are all healthy. These are called the career tributes. They come from districts 1, 2, and 4, and they train all of their lives to compete in the games. The training area has different stations with instructors. The career tributes go straight to those with weapons. Katniss and Peeta go to a station where they learn various knots and other survival techniques. Peeta picks up camouflage quickly because of decorating cakes. Over the next 3 days, they visit more stations while the game watchers watch. Peeta and Katniss stay together the whole time, making small talk and pretending to be friends. At lunch, one day, Peeta explains each district has its own distinct bread and shows them all to Katniss. In training, they also notice one of the female tributes, a small girl from District 11 called Rue. Katniss is the last of the tributes to have her private session with the game makers. She selects a bow from the weapons available, but because it's different from her bow at home, she misses her first shot. She takes a few difficult shots to impress the game makers before noticing that the game makers are not paying attention. Becoming frustrated, she fires an arrow straight toward the game makers and skewers an apple in the pig's mouth. Then she leaves without being dismissed. Very shortly thereafter, she becomes worried because she thinks they will punish her for her defiance. The game makers score the tributes from 1 to 12 based on their performance, and Katniss is certain she will have a lower score, which is a problem because she will not get sponsors who will send her things she needs to survive in the arena. She locks herself in her room and doesn't come out till dinner. She tells the people over dinner what she did, and Effie is shocked by her bad manners, but Haymitch says it doesn't seem to be concerned. The scores get announced. Peeta gets an 8 and Katniss gets an 11. She's stunned, but Haymitch says they probably liked her temper. Towards the end of the next day in training, when they have their interviews to prepare for, Peeta chooses not to train with Katniss anymore. Katniss feels betrayed, but she's also relieved that she no longer has to pretend to be his friend. They spend the day preparing for a televised interview, which will also help them gain sponsors. Katniss goes for Effie with instruction on presentation, and then she meets with Haymitch. He says the impression she makes may determine what sponsors he can get her, and she comes across as hostile. He tries to get her to seem friendly, but gives up. She has dinner in her room that night and makes a big mess. The red-headed Avox comes in and cleans up Katniss's hands and face that she cut on a broken dish. Katniss claims she should have tried to save her, but the Avox gestures that Katniss would have only ended up like her. Katniss helps her clean up and then goes to sleep. The next morning she meets with Cinna to get ready for the interviews. He puts her in a dress covered in jewels that in the right light give the impression of little flames. He asks Katniss if she's ready for her interview, but she says she's awful. He tells her to be herself, since everybody who already loves her spirit, and thus gives her comfort. The interviews come, Katniss's turn arrives, and she goes up on stage. Caesar Flickerman does the interviews every year, and Katniss manages to come off charming and even girly. Peeta goes last. Caesar asks him if he has a girlfriend, and Peeta says no, but there's a girl he's had a crush on as long as he remembers. Caesar says he can't turn him down now if she wins, but Peeta says winning won't help him because the girl he's thinking of came with him to the games. This section has a lot of significance placed on the importance of appearance. It's seen in the way that Katniss and Peeta maintain the appearance of being friends and that they hide their true skills. It's seen in the way they have to impress the game makers and the way they have to impress the crowds to gain sponsors. Appearances mean survival in this section. We also see the wealth versus poverty, particularly in the way the odds play out. The wealthier districts, 1 and 2 and 4, all have healthier tributes that are better trained and have better odds of surviving the Hunger Games arena. Also suffering from entertainment. The scores from the training sessions are broadcasted, and the interviews are broadcasted live to give the crowds a chance to get to know their tributes. These are all characteristic celebrity-like elements, and therefore we see the entertainment the Capitol are getting, while Peeta and Katniss are set to suffer and even possibly die. Take the Edmodo practice quiz, read chapters 10 through 12, and after our discussion in class, answer the discussion post on Edmodo.